This active fault suddenly appeared in Awaji City in Hyogo Prefecture after a major earthquake 18 years ago. About 10 kilometers of the fault can be seen above ground. But the fault was actually far longer, stretching more than 40 kilometers underground. When it shifted, it devastated the city. It was a near-field earthquake, in which huge vibrations caused by the active fault strike from below. 4 tectonic plates surround Japan. The plates push against each other, fracturing the earth. These fractures are the active faults that cause earthquakes. Japan has become more seismically active since the Great East Japan earthquake on March 11, 2011. Scientists are now particularly concerned about near-field earthquakes caused by active faults.
Active faults often caused large earthquakes in inland areas after a major earthquake occurs.
Around 2,000 active faults have been found in Japan so far. Now, previously undiscovered faults are becoming active.
I only found out there was an active fault here when it caused some damage.
It's just terrifying. A quake could strike in a second and there's nothing we can do.
Mega quake. We still don't know the true threat posed by the active faults that lie beneath our feet. Where will the next near-field quake strike? Scientists are trying to get an accurate picture of the active faults hidden underground. One such fault passes directly underneath Tokyo. If it were to slip, it would likely cause tremendous damage to much of the Tokyo metropolitan area. In Osaka, the latest technology has finally revealed a long-hidden fault. What does this massive fault look like? It is split into many branches, making it likely to cause considerable damage.
The faults spread out over wide areas. They create the energy and waves that cause earthquakes. I think we need to work on seeing how far they extend underground.
The Megaquake series will try to unravel the mystery of earthquakes using the latest technology. The first program will focus on the growing threat at our feet and uncover the true nature of active faults. A A month after the disaster on March 11th, a magnitude 7 earthquake hit Fukushima Prefecture. The epicenter was directly under Iwaki City. Unlike the major earthquake off the coast of the Tohoku region, this was a near-field earthquake that occurred inland. Part of a mountain crumbled in the massive quake. 4 people died, including a high school student. This quake was caused by an active fault hidden underground. The active fault suddenly appeared in this temple in Iwaki City.
This is where the fault is running. It just suddenly appeared and cut right through our land.
The main hall of this temple became tilted. It now leans to one side. A fault ran underneath the building, and the ground had collapsed on one side of it. The active fault that ran through the temple grounds was 13 kilometers long. Two active faults appeared above ground during this earthquake. In some places, the ground fell as much as 2 meters. Why did such a major slip appear? Professor Shinji Toda of Tohoku University studied the site.
The cause lies beneath the ground. This fault continues deeper, down around 10 kilometers. I think that deeper part of the fault was to blame.
Toda attempted to probe the nature of the faults that caused the earthquake. The yellow lines show the 2 active faults that appeared above ground. If we add the epicenters of the major earthquake and the aftershocks, we see 2 distinct sides. These are the earthquake source faults, which caused the huge earthquake. The 2 sides slipped together, sending up strong vibrations. The earthquake source faults can be found in the hard rock in the underground portion of active faults. The surrounding areas press in on the layer of solid rock, creating stress. When the pressure becomes too great, the source fault slips, fracturing the surface and creating strong quakes. This time, 2 source faults, 15 kilometers wide and 10 kilometers deep, shifted significantly, causing active faults to rise to the surface. Toda learned something surprising while studying this earthquake. Before the catastrophic earthquake 2 years ago, the oceanic plate pushed against the Tohoku region, and the inland areas were under great stress. The earthquake source fault underground was also being pushed. As pressure built up there, it became likelier that an earthquake would occur. The 2008 Iwate-Miyagi Nairiku earthquake happened this way. It killed 17 people. Then, when a major earthquake struck in 2011, the built-up pressure was released. Toda thought that would lower the risk of the active fault causing another quake. But soon after, an earthquake hit Iwaki City.
Our calculations indicated that the stress on the inland areas of the Tohoku region had been reduced, so there shouldn't have been a quake. But there were some areas inland where seismic activity occurred frequently. For a while, I didn't understand why that was happening.
Why were there earthquakes in such an unlikely area? Toda took a closer look at the way the active fault slipped. The fault was pulled from the eastern side, and the ground on the western side collapsed. Toda identified a new characteristic of earthquakes. After that major earthquake, the movement of the continental plate was pulled into the opposite of its former direction. The same happened to the earthquake source fault. Because the direction of the force was reversed, it became easier for an earthquake to occur at the active fault. In the past 2 years, Japan has been pulled eastward by as much as 6 meters. Toda says it's possible that similar types of earthquakes will happen more frequently.
The fault is moving like it's being pulled, which is something we hadn't predicted. We need to continue to look at the dangers of earthquakes and active faults.
Earthquakes that are thought to have been caused by active faults are happening all over. These quakes have registered above 5 lower on the Japanese scale in the last 2 years. They are occurring frequently in areas other than the epicenter of the major quake in the Pacific Ocean. 3 people died in the earthquake which shook the northern area of Nagano Prefecture in March 2 years ago. Another earthquake hit the eastern part of Shizuoka Prefecture, directly under Mount Fuji. And in February of this year, a quake struck the northern part of Tochigi Prefecture. All of these quakes occurred far from the epicenter of the March 11th earthquake. What was happening underground? Takuya Nishimura analyzes the movements of the Earth's crust all over Japan. He studied data from GPS monitoring stations in various parts of Japan. He noticed something strange that had not been recorded previously.
I've never seen upheavals of this pattern on this scale before.
The ground had been pushed up in regions at a certain distance from the epicenter. The affected areas were concentrated in regions including Kanto Koshinetsu and Hokkaido.